Hi, welcome to this month's Stack and Tilt blog. Before I go on with my usual ramblings, I'd like to thank Miles Latham from the US for allowing me to use his footage to discuss this point that relates to the rate at which golfers do things. So Miles has been working with me online now on and off for a couple of months, and one of the things that he commented on when he sent the footage of the swing that we see here on the left was that the swing, felt too long and too out of control. As a result, shot pattern was quite erratic, and the main sort of remit on this was that we wanted to tidy things up. Now, this is a judgment call as an instructor, I guess, but whilst there's certain amounts of mechanics that are involved in the backswing or the swing in general, sometimes we can get a student who is carrying out the mechanics we want them to do or we want them to carry out, but can be doing certain aspects at too high a rate or putting too much emphasis on one particular piece. And in Miles' instance, he'd been advised previously that there wasn't enough rotation in his swing, and as a result, if we look at the three key aspects of the backswing, so we want to extend, we want to turn, and we want to left tilt, Miles is really emphasising the turning aspect. One of the things I talk a lot about with students when I get them on the mat, or try to illustrate this point, is by using the number 5. So if you want to extend at a rate of 5, left tilt at a rate of 5, and turn at a rate of 5. Now, 5's not a definitive number, it's just a way of allowing the pupil to visualise things and have some sort of reference. So what I see when I'm looking at Miles in that respect is someone who is left tilting at 5. I see a player who's, and having discussed things on Twitter with him, I know that he understands that the left shoulder's got to work down, that the spine's got to extend, that the rear leg's got to extend, and that he's got to turn. But what I see is someone who is turning so much that he couldn't possibly left tilt enough or extend enough to offset that. So what we get is a situation where the eyes are pulled off the ball massively. Obviously the head twists a tremendous amount because of that. And one of the things that Miles said, he loses control, loses sight of the golf ball, left arm travels too far, club gets lost behind him, etc, etc. And all that's got to be retraced in the through swing. And again, we can see that left foot spinning, right shoulder chasing past the left. So to say there's no rotation in that swing, personally for me is just not right, and it's not fair to the student. So Miles is doing from P1 to P4 for me, he's doing the 3 aspects that are required, but the rate at which he's doing one is too high. So this was the footage sent across. I appreciate this is a driver and an iron, but we work long distance, so there's not much we can do with that really. The footage that we look at on the right is Miles doing an exercise, or I've asked him to do an exercise just for a short period, and then send me a little bit of footage of the swing so that we can see what sort of effects have occurred, what sort of changes have occurred, should I say, before we then start to look at the swing in a little bit more detail, because I just wanted to calm things down. I didn't really want Miles to be thinking too much about things at this stage. I just wanted him to calm things down. So what I've asked Miles to do here is close his left eye. Now, in closing the left eye, if he is to turn too much like we see here on the left, he's going to lose sight of the golf ball, and there's not many more things more uncomfortable for a golfer than losing sight of the golf ball. So all we've done at this point is ask Miles to hit some shots, make some swings with the left eye shut. And when he does that, we see a marked difference in the amount at which the head twists and the eyes get pulled off the golf ball. And he appreciates a driver versus an iron, etc. But the turning is less emphasised. So what we've done here now is we've just calmed down the rate at which Miles turns. That starts to make that left shoulder working down appear to be a little bit more emphasised also. But he's not trying to do that. So all he's doing now is whereas previously he was left tilting at 5, extending at 5, turning at 10, so that would be on the left. So really turning the hell out of it in the backswing. What we've done here now is created a situation where he's still left tilting at 5, he's still extending at 5, and he's turning at 7. So there's a little bit less turn, a little bit less emphasis on the turning aspect of the golf swing. That's creating a little bit more control of the left arm, a little bit more control of the sweet spot, and starting to balance things up for Miles during the backswing. So not always about, you know, how you're doing things or the mechanics of doing something. Sometimes it needs to be about the rate at which we do things. And I see this a lot as an instructor, particularly with golfers who have tried to teach themselves stack and tilt through things on the internet, etc. Each golfer will interpret a certain piece as being the number one thing for them to work into their game. And unfortunately, sometimes that gets misinterpreted, and we get a situation like we have here with Miles, where he's being told he doesn't have enough rotation in the swing, so therefore, as a keen golfer who wants to practice and improve, he's going to keep adding rotation to every swing that he makes. Going forward with Miles, what we need to then look at, and this is the thing we touched on in his last session online, I don't think he'll mind me sharing this with you. We talked about the way his right knee works in the through swing or in the downswing. He gets the right knee shooting forward too fast. So again, what are we trying to do in the downswing? Well, we're trying to rotate, we're trying to slide the hips, and we're trying to extend. Now this right knee going beyond its original flex and shooting out towards the target line, causing the right heel to lift, etc., etc., causing the hips to level out too fast, tuck underneath too quick, is a rate of extension. So what we could look at here with Miles is that he's extending at too high a rate. And again, that's going to create problems in regards to creating alignments at impact. You see there that the right shoulder hangs back a little bit too much. Line across the forearms is a little bit too much to the right, and that in turn can result in blocks, hooks, high rate of closure, etc. So what we're now doing is trying to control what the right knee does in the downswing to calm down the rate of extension. So again, when you look at that as a downswing, is it that Miles isn't sliding his hips? We have a little look at it from face on. I think it's fair to say that Miles does have linear movement. There is rotation going in there. You can see there that right heel coming around. Still way too much turn on the way through for my liking, which we've discussed. But again, the rate at which Miles extends is making the other two pieces potentially obsolete. So the extension in the downswing and the turn in the backswing, it isn't that Miles doesn't do either piece, it's just that he does them both at too high a rate. Hope this helps somebody out there. Like I say, it's from my point of view, it's just a take on certain things. Understanding mechanics is one thing, working on your swing is great, but sometimes, like with Miles, we have a good swing trying to get out, fighting to get out, but unfortunately the rates at which we do things can be a little bit too high. So it's not that Miles doesn't turn, it's not that Miles doesn't slide, and it's not that Miles doesn't extend. It's just that he does them at too high a rate. This is not necessarily, it's not necessarily the be-all and end-all. It's just something that, for me as an instructor, I see happening quite a lot on the lesson tee. And I think, understanding it, or maybe considering the rates at which we do things, could help you as a golfer or you as a coach to get a little bit more out of your game or your students' game. So, like I say, it's just an opinion. It's just observations based on the people that I teach, the golf that I play, and improvements that I've seen with students when rates are considered, if you will. So just moving away from not necessarily, the mechanics do improve, but it's not bogging miles down with mechanical thoughts. Close the left eye, have a little look at it on film. What do we see? We just see certain moves are being done at a slightly more subdued rate. Good luck with it. Have a great Christmas. Look forward to communicating more with you throughout the coming year. I'm sure we're all going to have a good season in 2016. I wish you all the very best. And if you've got any questions, feel free to drop me an email. Get in touch on Twitter via @forgolfinthezone or S&T Explained. Or visit the website www.hotwoodgolf.co.uk. Thanks.